Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hivemind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The border is back in the news cycle. Once again, Joe Biden's policies proving to be disastrous. Now, when people talk about the border, especially from the perspective of the left, they always approach from their favorite angle as if it's all about race and it's all about bigotry. The reason Republicans want a secure border, important word there, secure, is because they just don't like people who have different skin complexions than themselves. However, we know that's a whole load of BS. The truth is, it's about security. It's about having control over who comes in and who comes out and being able to properly vet and quantify crossings in and out of the country to the benefit of the American citizen. That's the entire point. Seems logical? Well, in the left's eyes, you're a bigot. But my question is, would you rather be a bigot from the leftist perspective, or would you rather be, what's a politically correct term that I could use? Well, I guess a dummy. What we're seeing right now with leftist policies is so absolutely incompetent. In my mind, there's no way the Democrats can survive this one headed into 2022. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, who knows? All I know is Republicans have a serious edge if they use the border crisis to their advantage in terms of political attack ads. American safety, especially in the southern border states, has been compromised thanks to Joe Biden, and they just don't seem to care. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so this has to be the headliner piece for today's video. US border agents arrest 2 men on terror watch list who tried to cross the border from Mexico. Customs and Border Protection announced on Monday the recent arrest of 2 men that are featured on the FBI's terror watch list and allegedly illegally entered the United States from Mexico. The 2 men from Yemen were arrested on separate incidents in January and March near the Calexico port of entry in California. After being detained, the men revealed that they were suspects on the US government watch list for terrorism and were listed on the no-fly list, Customs and Border Protection said in a press release. The agency did not provide the names of the 2 men aged 33 and 26. Upon the arrest of the 33-year-old suspect on January 29th, border agents found a mobile phone SIM card beneath the insole of the man's shoe, the agency said. According to the FBI, the terror watch list includes people who are known to be or reasonably suspected of being involved in terrorist activities. And so there you have it, folks. It's already started. While the Democrats want to frame the whole thing in a very simple dichotomy surrounded around race, that it's white American conservatives who just don't want people of color coming through into their country, that could not be further from the truth. If people have reasonable asylum claims and people are fleeing persecution, Republicans support immigration just as much as a Democrat does, but it has to be done through the legal channels. If you have a case to present, then you have the right to present that case. That's absolute. But the situation at the border that Joe Biden has created is anything but that. It's essentially outlaw immigration, and now we're seeing increases in extremely dangerous people coming through the border that aren't even necessarily from the continent. People coming from the Middle East and other areas that the FBI has on a list as potential threats to American safety. Those people are coming unvetted like ghosts through the border. Psaki was questioned about this story today, and look how she responded.
Thank you. The FBI keeps a watch list with information about people who are known or reasonably suspected of being involved in terror activities. 2 people on it from Yemen have been apprehended at the border. How concerned is President Biden about terrorists possibly trying to take advantage of gaps in the border to get in and kill Americans?
Well, first let me convey that these type of incidents are very uncommon, and CBP and DHS can speak more to the timeline and the specifics, of course, in these particular cases and encounters. But encounters of known and suspected terrorists are very uncommon.
And so she tries to brush it off. It doesn't matter. Almost as if the ends justify the means. We're going to keep the channels open and continue with this lax policy, regardless of the untold suffering and regardless of the amount of kids that drown in the Rio Grande. And she says that the terrorist threat is so minute you shouldn't even think about it. If something bad happens, if a crime is committed or a horrible atrocity is committed by somebody who crossed through illegally, and you could have saved that one life or the lives of those people by actually having a border, well, the blood's going to be on the Biden administration's hands. And it's funny because they tell you wear a mask even if you save one life. Do this if you could just save one life. Well, secure the border and you're going to save a whole lot of lives, but they don't view it that way now, do they? And to pretend as if it's negligible, it never really happens, well, it's happening more and more and more and more. The reason why we're already seeing it this early in the year and why CBP arrested, I think, 900 criminals already in 2021, I think only in Texas. Well, you should by virtue, just by sheer volume, expect these numbers to continue to rise and become more and more of an issue for the American people and American safety. I mean, just to give you guys an idea of the scale, there's the scale that we know of, and then of course there's the silent scale. Deputy Border Patrol Chief says way over 100,000 people have gotten away from us this year. Way more than 100,000 people, folks. We'll see the official numbers of maybe 20 or 30,000 people that got apprehended at the border for every 100,000 people that didn't get apprehended. I mean, that's just the way that it works. Think about drug smuggling, for instance. You just continuously send as many trucks as possible to the southern border. One might get caught, but the rest are all going through smooth sailing. That's the tactic of the cartels, and the cartels are in full effect right now. Human smugglers are offering services openly on social media to get illegals across the US border, quote, safely. Many people have been noticing a recent severe uptick in the amount of posts on Facebook or other social media advertising services that get people into the US illegally. Ari Fleischer retweets a story from NBC News that says human smugglers use Facebook to spread false hope of reaching the US. Travel to Mexico to the United States cost $8,000, 100% safe. His response is, "This is sick. Human smugglers are openly advertising their service on Facebook, falsely telling Central Americans interested in crossing illegally into the United States that they can promise a 100% safe journey." Something we know to not be true, considering how many lives are lost, and of course considering the amount of women and children that fall victim on that treacherous trip to other elements. And as Democrats virtue signal and once again pretend to be on the moral side of the argument, that's far from reality. It's far from the truth, as 72% of Americans call illegal immigration a direct threat to the US. A direct threat is true. It's right. Not only to the economy, not only to the people themselves that are crossing over and to the countries that they initially inhabited, but just a direct threat to American lives. Not knowing who's coming through, what their intentions are, even in many cases who they are, just releasing them into the public. We're just talking about common sense here, and clearly 72% of Americans have common sense to understand that these policies are absolutely ridiculous. Most of Joe Biden's policies are completely ridiculous, in fact. The level of naivete and idealism that encapsulates basic Democrat policy, the policies that Joe Biden is pursuing at the behest of the liberal mob, sounds nice and compassionate, fluffy. They create a nice premise, a nice narrative. It sounds good. It makes you feel good as a human being. But the profound, serious consequence that looms right around the corner, not necessarily long-term, but I guess mid-term, in a couple years, is going to come into fruition. The economic issues, the lack of opportunity, the increase in crime and availability in substance issues, potential foreign extremists and terrorists making it into the country in a much easier fashion. All of these things are starting to fester and materialize, and you will not see the serious negative impact until the statistics are gathered and you realize everything is on the uptick. And it all started at one point, and that one point was the year 2021, January 20th, and thereafter where Joe Biden signed all of those executive orders, unleashing untold amounts of damage on American society. And with 72% of Americans disagreeing with his policies, and the Biden administration unable to give real, coherent, strong answers and responses to these issues, well, hopefully I can be optimistic at least and say 2022 should not be a good year for the Democrats as people wake up and see exactly what's going on. But we'll have to see. Time will tell. I'm not naive, and I do know that the brainwash is quite strong. That's the video that I got for you guys on this one though, and if you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We're still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, but now I gotta get back to work. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.